Hello, so I wanted to do a video to talk about online etiquette and how people behave online, how people treat each other online. So particularly in like comments and things like that. So not necessarily about what people are posting, but more about the kind of interaction with people's posts. So I'd kind of thought about this video quite a while ago now, but around the time that I was thinking of it, it was quite heavily documented in the media because there'd been a celebrity suicide because of trolling, and there'd also been a documentary of another celebrity that was discussing the impacts of trolling. I've realised I've said trolling and trolling, I'm tomato, isn't it? But then I randomly found a YouTuber that I recognised because she'd done kind of like a Pretty Little Things haul, and she was trying it on in front of her dad, and her dad was really comical, commented on it. And so I randomly found her again on YouTube because I think I'd seen that on like a Lad Bible post, I'm not quite sure. And so I found her, and she was kind of talking about her mental health and how the trolling of her comments, trolling on her comments was kind of like affecting her mental health and things like that. And it got me thinking about it again. And I kind of started to think, like, why do people do it? Because it's obviously not nice and it's obviously having an impact. And the people doing it know that they're having an impact because I think for some people, that's what they want. And I watch these people documenting the impact that it's having on them. And I kind of just think to myself, why are you allowing them to see that what they've done has had an impact because that's what they wanted? I would be quite hesitant to admit to an impact on myself because then they've won, haven't they? Like, you know, the best way to win against trolls is to have no impact, like for them to not impact you in any way. And I know that's easier said than done because obviously these people are getting death threats and all sorts, like it's horrendous. But if you let it impact on you, then they've got what they wanted and then they're happy about it. So I don't think that you can appeal to somebody that trolls because if I mean, the unintentional trolls, yes, you can appeal to them, but I think most people that troll know that they're doing it, and they do it on purpose to kind of put somebody down. So I don't think that you can really appeal to them. So I'm going to talk about that later, but I think I'll maybe talk a little bit about the unintentional ones as well as I'm kind of going through. I think when people put comments on things, sometimes they can be unintentional. And, you know, people are wired to judge. It's kind of a defense strategy from evolution. You judge what's in your environment to see whether it's safe or not, whether you should be scared of it or not. You put people in boxes. That's the way our brain works. It can't kind of like process everything. We go by heuristics, which are rules of thumb, to kind of shortcut our processing, you know, that we're doing. So people automatically judge, and often we've got this kind of attribution bias. So we view ourselves as being right and other people being wrong. So for example, when we're driving and something happens, we automatically blame the other person. That's external attribution bias. If we're the kind of person that kind of blames ourselves, we've got internal attribution bias, when in reality it might not be anybody's fault, it might just be chance, you know, or it could be both people's faults, you know, you don't know for sure. So often we have this kind of automatic thing where we blame other people, because if we feel like we're doing everything right or we feel like our opinion is correct, then it must be the other person that's in the wrong, and so therefore people hit out and people are aggressive and whatever because it's a protection strategy. So from a kind of like anthropology, but I was going to say anthropomorphization, and that wasn't the right word, so then I was like, oh. But anyway, from like, you know, a kind of human thing, it's natural to do that. But as a conscious being, you kind of need to be a bit more intelligent and override that and just stop yourself and be mindful that that's what you're doing. Because I'm not suggesting that we can all just not judge, like it's impossible, we always judge, but you to catch yourself judging and then just to like address that is what you kind of, I would think, as an individual that I want to do. I want to be better. I want to not judge people. I want to kind of see people as human beings. And although they might say and do things, I want to see the human being that's underneath that. And so you kind of obviously have to work on kind of overriding that. I did a little bit of an experiment about comments and trolling and things like that. There was a post from, I think it was the Manchester Evening News, and it was about middle lane drivers who hog the middle lane, which is obviously, you know, it's not the rule of the road. Like if the lane to the left of you is free, you should be in that lane. But this is something that really bothers me, because I know that rule and I stick to that rule, but I don't go into the lane if I'm approaching a junction and I see another car joining, because I will be in that car's way. So you move into the middle lane to let the person that's joining the junction join the junction. Similarly, if you are like in the middle lane and you're going faster than the car that's next to you and you're about to kind of overtake it, then you wouldn't go in that lane because you are going faster than that lane. So it makes sense to be in the middle lane. So there's been times where I've been using the middle lane correctly that I've had drivers come past me and almost kind of like try to police the roads and try and tell me how I should be driving, because they think they know the rules, which is fine if I was doing something wrong. Like, you know, I would admit, like, sometimes you might, you know, not realise and you know, you move over, like, obviously. But I don't think that it's right that you should be policing the road by driving really far up behind somebody, or even kind of, you know, like coming out last minute and then coming straight back in front of them. And, you know, I've had people like swerving in and things, really dangerous driving. And I've actually seen somebody kind of like snake in and out all the way down because they think they're following the rules. And I just think to myself, like, objectively, if you look at your driving and you look at a middle lane hogger's driving, the middle lane hogger is probably causing less of an impact than what you are, because you're zooming in and out of cars and you're more likely to either crash or cause other people to crash because you're policing the road as you do it. And so I think that that's really dangerous. You know, I don't think that people should hog the middle lane. Like, obviously, it does, you know, slow down traffic, it does disrupt flow and things like that. But sometimes people do it unintentionally. Like, you know, people don't go around like trying to purposely hog lanes. And some of them do. I have seen some of them do it, and I know that it's frustrating, but you kind of just go around them and then you forget about them, you know, because usually they're driving slower than everybody else anyway. Even, you know, when you're keeping to the 70 speed limit, you can drive past them. So what's the big deal? But anyway, that's me ranting about middle lane driving. So anyway, I looked at this article and I looked at the comments below it. And I was like, don't comment. And I was like, no, do you know what? I'm going to comment, because there was loads of people that were saying things like, oh, I just go right up to him and I put the V's up and I do this and I do that. And I was just like, one, you are on a public forum, you are identifiable, and you are suggesting to everybody else that you have committed an illegal act on the road. So that, first off, is not good online etiquette. You are criminalising yourself. Like, be aware of what you're doing. You know, you're posting a comment that is there forever. That digital footprint exists. Everyone knows that you've put that comment on. And, you know, based on politicians and things where it's come out that when they were younger, they made, you know, racist comments, or they've made comments that they shouldn't have been making. And it comes out to question the character now as they're older, because, you know, obviously people change and people grow and people become better human beings as they get educated and learn and all that kind of things, life experience, whatever. But digitally, it's there forever. Like, it's always going to be there, no matter whether you delete it or not. It's always there. And, you know, your comments on things, you lose track of what you've commented on. So, you know, there's things there forever that people will be able to see and find with your kind of name on, and that you've just criminalised yourself. You know, it's funny when you see people like videoing like the road and it's them driving. Like, what are you doing? But anyway, so I commented quite an, I won't say neutral, actually. It was quite evocative, because I was sarcastic. I was like, you know, I said something like, oh, because driving up somebody and whatever is so much safer to drive like that, and I said, why don't you just drive around them? So it was kind of just like it wasn't a question, it wasn't something that required a reply, it was just my opinion. So I just put my opinion on as an experiment. And I knew that I was going to get comments back, so I was ready for it. And I was like, every time I get a comment, I am not going to engage in an argument, I am just going to restate my opinion. And if someone says something that's not correct, I'm going to correct them. So that's what I did. So I got loads and loads of comments, and each time I was like, there's the response, and it was literally just, that's not what I said, or it was something like, this is what I think. As I said before, this is what I think. And I just didn't detract from that, and I didn't go into more details, because what you see sometimes on comments is the person will attack you for one thing, then you'll say something else, they'll attack you for something else, and it'll just go on forever, and it's just like, just stop it dead with the comment. So I did, and then it was interesting because people take different tacts. So you get some people that try to correct you. So they think that they are more correct than you, that they are more knowledgeable than you, and therefore it's their job to correct you. So they will attempt to correct you. So most people, when that happens, they get kind of like, oh, someone's tried to correct me, and they get quite flustered about it. And I was just like, no, what I said wasn't wrong. What I said was actually correct, and I'm not going to detract from my opinion just because you're telling me that you disagree with me. So I kind of just put the comment on again, and then they stopped. And it's kind of like, what you've got to remember is, if you don't challenge what someone is giving you in a negative way, they will continue to do it, and they will think that that behaviour is okay. Like, you need to challenge every aggression against you, otherwise that bully will continue. That troll will continue. You need to kind of challenge that behaviour. And then I had other comments which were really funny. It was, somebody was saying like, oh, I bet this, so they said my name, is a middle lane driver, blah, blah, blah. And I just replied and went, no, I'm not. And literally that was it. So every time they attacked me personally, so not my opinion, not what I'd said, they attacked me. They tried to say that I was this and I was that and whatever. I literally replied and said, not true, not true. I do follow the rules of the road, blah, 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 whatever. And again, it stopped. And it's just like, you just need to be clear with those types of people, because as soon as you say something, they then have nowhere to go with it, because you haven't, because what tends to happen is they attack you. So they have this ad hominem argument, which is, instead of attacking the content of your argument, they attack you as a person, because they can't attack your argument because there's nothing wrong with it. So they attack you as a person and try to put you down, and then you obviously will get defensive, and then it'll be a back and forth. If you don't get defensive and you just go, that wasn't, whatever. And it's funny actually, because this one person that attacked me, I clicked on the profile, because remember, on comments you can see everybody's profiles, you can see what they're like, and the types of people that were negative were all quite similar, and one of them had as their cover picture a Bob Marley quote about not judging people and not being kind of prejudiced and whatever. And I was like, that's really, really ironic, because this is a person who's got a quote on their cover to not be judgmental, judging me, who they've never met, on a comment because of some opinion that I put on that didn't even incriminate me in suggesting that I was what they thought I was. So I was like, is this person got this on the cover because they don't want to judge, like they know they judge and they don't want to, or are they that delusional that they don't realise that they're going around judging everybody? Because that blew my mind when I saw that, and I actually commented and said that. I was like, it's quite ironic that you've attacked me for my opinion and made assumptions on what I'm like when you've got that on your cover, which got quite a few laughs from a few people. So what you've got to remember about people that are putting comments on is that they've not really thought about what they're saying, and they're not interested in kind of listening to what you've got to say. They're interested in correcting you, putting you down, making you feel bad about yourself, and exerting their power over you, like trying to oppress your opinion. So don't listen to anything that anybody says on comments. So I wouldn't, let people troll you. Sorry, I'm checking my board for what I've got to say next. I worry that people that are making these comments, I think it's something to do with them perhaps not being educated to the level to understand critical thinking. Like, it's like they don't think about an argument and think about the context of that and the background to it. And I'm not just talking about the comment experiment that I did there, I'm talking about just in general. When people make comments on things, they're usually very uninformed about what they're commenting about. I had somebody comment on one of my videos about something, and so they were trying to correct me, and I was like, I'm not wrong. Like, I've read the book, I've researched around it, and I'm right about it. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, sorry, just because your opinion is different to mine, that means that you're correct. No, you're not, because I've read the book, I've done the research, I know what's right, like, I'm knowledgeable about this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making a video on it. Who are you to kind of comment on my video and tell me that I'm wrong? So I worry about these people, because I think to myself, you need to, you know, if you are going to disagree with something that someone says, an opinion, that's fine. Like, everyone's got different opinions, like, you know, and you can voice your opinion or whatever. But you can voice your opinion in a respectful way by saying, I've heard what you've said. I don't agree with the opinion. My opinion is this, which is fine. But then my question would be, why do you think the other person wants your opinion? Why do you think that that's solicited? You know, if someone creates some content and they create it going, do you know what? I really, really want your opinion on this content that I've created. I mean, I get that, because there's a lot of people that create kind of content and videos and whatever, and they want you to like and subscribe, and they want you to comment, because that gets them more ad revenue. But if you've got someone who's not interested in ad revenue and is just creating content for it to be there, to be educational, or for it to be kind of, you know, a thought-provoking content, then they don't really care if you comment. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's there whether you comment or not. And comments are great, and comments have their place. You know, whenever I kind of do something, like, give you an example. So I was doing book reviews, and I was thinking of not doing them anymore. And then, because I was getting so many comments from people saying that they liked certain videos or whatever, it made me think that I should maybe carry on doing them. And so I did carry on doing them because of the comments. If I didn't have comments on them, I wouldn't have carried on doing them, and I wouldn't have carried on creating the book review content. It just wouldn't have happened. So comments have their place in that sense. And there has been times as well where people have commented on my content and suggested different books to me, which has been very useful and been very grateful. I've had authors of the actual books commenting on the post, which again have been very useful, because they've directed me to cited articles and things like that have been really helpful. And then I've had, you know, a few people commenting, which has made me kind of rethink my views about things, which again is great, but they've done it in a respectful way, and they've not done it in you're wrong, because who goes around doing that? You know, if you think about online behaviour, why is it so different to real life behaviour? You know, if somebody was to go around in real life and go, your content's shit, you're shit, this is wrong, that's wrong, I don't like this, you know, dislike, 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 you'd think they were an arsehole. Like, you're behaving like an arsehole online, but there seems to be a disconnect there. Like, it's almost like because there's a screen and there's no actual person, you're not understanding that that's not how you should be behaving. Like, it's not a socially acceptable way to behave. Like, you're being antisocial. You are, I mean, I understand why, because, you know, we're in a society that kind of almost restricts our individualism, because we have to conform to societal norms and things like that. I get that, and I get that it's a little triumph for individualism if you can kind of say what your opinion is and things, but create your own content, like, do your own videos, like, you know, say what your opinion is on your own stuff. Like, you always find that people that troll and people that negative comment people's content, they always have no content on their channel, if it's YouTube, or if it's like, you know, Instagram, it's like reusing other people's posts, or if it's Facebook, like, it's just pictures of nothing. They don't do anything with their time. You know, you've got to remember that people that are online making these comments are not in the real world living their lives. They're online. Like, I always think to myself, like, when I read like a nasty comment, I'm always like, I feel bad for the person, because I think you've got nothing else going on in your life that you have decided to spend your time, your precious time, making a nasty comment on someone else's content. And I'm like, I mean, obviously, you know, some people are going through bad stuff, and I get that, and I get that you externalise it, and that's better than, you know, feeling bad about yourself, because it protects you. But you're causing destruction everywhere. It's like a ripple in a pond when you drop a pebble in. Like, you're creating destruction around you to lots of other people. And obviously, like, you know, some people are fine. Like, some people aren't affected by it and stuff, and you know, they can take care of themselves. But like, I feel bad for like YouTuber that I was mentioning. She's like severely impacted. Her mental health is terrible because she cares about the people that are on her YouTube channel, and she cares about the comments, she cares about the likes, because it's her job, and it's, you know, it's what, you know, she thinks that these people are her friends, and it's kind of like, it's sad really. But you know, I always kind of think, if you're online, you should behave how you would in real life. And if in real life you're not a very nice person, you should maybe work on that, because you're probably not going to have very many friends. Like, not, you know, people aren't going to want to be around you if you're not very nice. You know, if you don't treat people well, they don't stick around. They kind of like go off and find nicer people. Like, that's life. So if you're on your own and that's the reason why you're online all the time, then maybe you should think about being nicer. And people are like, yeah, you know, you don't get it for free. Like, you don't get loads of friends for free, like for just being an arsehole. Like, that's not reality. You know, you're watching things like House, and he's got Wilson as his best mate. Like, he would never have any real friends. Like, it's just not a thing that would happen. You know, people don't make friends with arseholes. They just don't. And like, similarly, like online, if, you know, if you see something that you don't like, that's fine. You're entitled to dislike something. I'm always kind of like really confused by people that dislike my content, because I'm just like, you know, you're entitled to dislike it, obviously, but if I dislike something, I just don't watch it. Like, I just don't give it my time, because I'm like, I'm too busy. Like, I don't, you know, I don't watch something, and if I dislike it, do you know what, I'm going to tell that person that I disliked it, because that just means that that content isn't for me. It wasn't to my taste. It wasn't, you know, what I'd like. So I just don't watch it. I don't make the person feel bad and put a dislike on it. Not that it would make them feel bad. I mean, I'm just, you know, I'm imagining that YouTuber girl, it makes her feel bad. But like, obviously when I see it, I'm just like, whatever. Like, because there could be many reasons as well why someone dislikes it. It could be because of the quality. Like, you know, I purposely make bad quality videos because I don't want to be famous. I don't want everyone to know who I am. You know, I'm here for people that, like, I know, and that people that have found me randomly because of something else that, you know, and they enjoy it. Like, that's why they follow the videos. So it doesn't really bother me that much. And it's always funny as well, because the other thing is, when you see someone's disliked your video, I don't even look normally, but when you kind of, I watch my own videos back, because this sounds really bad, but it's not, because you know, I make these videos for myself because I find them entertaining to listen back to, like what I've talked about, because I can't remember what I'm talking about. I don't plan these, I just talk about them. So when I listen back to them, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting point. It's like I'm talking to myself. But anyway, because basically I make these because nobody else makes these. You know, like, I'm making content that's not there for me. Like, the booktube community is not serving my needs, which is why I do my own book reviews. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. I should have scripted this, shouldn't I? What was I saying? Disliking. About something about disliking. About it not being for... Oh, that was it. Whenever you click on something and it shows like people that are disliked, if you actually go on your kind of analytical things, which I don't very often go on, but you see like that they've not actually watched the entire video, that they haven't watched the entire thing. And I always get like the videos that I've got the most dislikes on are the ones where I've said that I dislike the book. So that's obviously people that like the book, that instead of listening to what I'm saying, because everything that I'm saying is backed up by actual, you know, like, I go into detail about why it's not very good, they've just kind of watched that and just disliked it. And I know that for a fact, because on one of them, someone wrote a nasty comment, which was about how this book was amazing and it's a GCSE text and all this rubbish. I mean, just because it's a GCSE text does not mean it's a good book. Like, the reason it's a GCSE text is because it's low, so that people that are 15 and 16 can understand it. Like, do you know what I mean? They're not going to, you know, set some kind of, you know, massively difficult book when they're already set in Shakespeare. You know, they're not going to do that. That's why they set things like Harry Potter, which obviously is great, but she stole all her ideas from everywhere else, and it's not that amazing. Like, when you look at it in terms of a literary like perspective, like, obviously the first book's really good, but some of the other ones aren't as good. It's just because you know the characters and you invest in the story that it's great. Not that I'm bashing Harry Potter, because I do really like Harry Potter, but you know, I always think like you wouldn't go, say you went to an art gallery and you looked around and you wouldn't be like sticking dislike stickers on everything, would you? You just wouldn't do it. You'd just be like, oh, I don't like that, and you'd move on and you wouldn't even think anything of it. Like, you just like whatever. So I just don't understand. Like, I never in my entire history of YouTube have ever disliked a video ever. I just haven't done it because I'm just like I'm not the kind of person that wants to put hate into the world or dislike into the world. And I get that it's, you know, it's got its uses sometimes, because I know some people are like, let me know if you like this video, and then they can tell from that like to make more videos. But I just think that that stifles your art. Like, art isn't there for the masses. Like, art is there as self-expression, and if the masses like it or not, then that's their bag. But art is self-expression, and you should be able to express yourself how you want, as long as it's tolerant and nice to other people and things. You know, if you think of like Steve Jobs creating the iPhone, he didn't really care what people wanted, he just made it anyway because it's what he liked, and now everyone loves the iPhone. So people don't know what they want, and if you give them what they want, they're not happy with what you give them. So you just don't think about other people and creating it for other people, unless you're doing it in a positive way to maybe benefit people. I don't know. So what I would say, going back to my original kind of suggestion, is well, that's the other thing as well. I don't like videos either. I watch YouTube and I don't really interact. I don't comment, I don't like or anything. And there's plenty of people out there that do that. So if you are a creator of content and you're bothered by likes and dislikes and comments and things, like, don't worry about it, because there'll be plenty of people that watch you that do actually like what you do, but just don't say anything. So, you know, ignore the hate. So what I would suggest is, you know, think about your behaviour. Are you behaving online the same way that you do in real life? Like, if you're a nice person, because often people put comments and they don't realise that they're quite nasty and they're not very nice, and they might have been busy when they did it. You know, you've got to think as well, you don't know the context of when that person's commented, like what was happening in their life at that time, and if they were busy and they just haven't really thought about it and they've just posted it. I think a lot of the time people, they see something and they have a thought, and then they just blurt that thought out online. And it's like, we all have opinions and thoughts about things, that's natural. And we see things and we think, oh, what is that? And why have they posted that? And whatever. But you don't go and post it on the person's content because it's not nice. Like, why would you do that? Why would you try and bring another person down? It makes no sense to me. It's really kind of bizarre. So I always think to myself, like, just stop before you post something. If you're in the habit of posting things that you shouldn't be posting, just stop yourself and go, would I say this to someone's face? Would I actually say to the person exactly what I've just wrote down? Because if you wouldn't, I wouldn't post it, because you're just going to come across as an arsehole. I mean, you are actually being an arsehole by posting that. I think sometimes people know that what they're posting is a little bit, they shouldn't really be saying it, but they say it anyway because it's like a triumph of individualism. But, you know, it has such negative consequences on people, and people get really bothered about it, and then, you know, people are obsessed with social media and they want to be liked by people, and, you know, they've not really done work on themselves and stuff. And I mean, I imagine that, you know, nasty comments do make people think about themselves and maybe work on themselves a little bit, but it's not your place, is it? It's not your place to correct everybody and make them into what you want them to be as well. Like, it's funny because I had an incident where someone was bullying me, and I didn't really stick up for myself, because I'm kind of like, oh, just leave it, just like, don't bother. But actually what I've learned is the only way to stop people from bullying you is to stick up for yourself and to give us good back, really, and almost kind of like behave in the way that they're behaving so that they'll stop. Because trying to be the bigger person, the better person, it doesn't work, because they just walk all over you. So sometimes you've kind of got to stick up for yourself. So in this kind of instance that happened, I was kind of like saying to the person, you know, they were criticising me for something. I was like, well, how do you want me to behave? How exactly would you want me to behave so that it would be okay with you? And they couldn't answer the question because it wasn't about behaving in a certain way. They just didn't want me to have the freedom to choose how to behave. They didn't want me to have the freedom to choose what to say and what to do. And so it's about power, and it's about oppression, and it's about trying to feel like they're in like power of you and what you do and what you say. You know, so if you kind of like respond to something directly in a comment or whatever that gives them what they want, then they've oppressed you and in the process have dehumanised you and themselves. And so it leads to a not very pleasant society. And I actually do believe that this rise in social media and people commenting is the reason why now people are so judgmental and so kind of quick to judge everybody around them as being not very nice and being kind of like nasty and stuff. Like, there's plenty of people around that are very good, that are very nice, that are very good human beings, and you know, don't want to be nasty to others and don't want to put people down. And unfortunately, they don't comment online because they have lives and they're out in the real world. You know, there's a lot of people that don't really use social media that often, and so it gets kind of distorted where you see a lot of people commenting that aren't very nice. So it gives this representation that there's a lot of people out there that are like that, and it's not the case. You know, misery loves company, and the people that are online that are commenting are there because that's where they all go. You know, they don't leave the houses and have a life, they just sit and comment on things. So I would say, don't be one of them. Like, think about your behaviour and think about how you're actually coming across online, because personally I never want to upset anybody else and hurt anybody else, even unintentionally. And obviously it's impossible to go about life and not affect people sometimes, like that's just going to happen, but to kind of make sure that you're not doing it so that that person feels really bad and whatever on a regular basis. You know, I really, really feel for these people that are getting kind of like so many negative comments all the time about, I mean, this one particular YouTuber, it's kind of like affected me actually watching it, because they were saying things about, they're calling her face and they're calling like what she looks like, and she's like really insecure now about the way she looks, and it's just like, I mean, yeah. So takeaway message, you know, if you can't be nice, don't say anything at all.